to say, I think that what was manifest in the case that I took to the United States Supreme Court is the same sort of things of which these gentlemen have already given you sprinklings of. There is in 1987, as there has been perhaps consistently throughout the entire history of the United States, an enduring fear, an enduring loathing, an enduring suspicion of those of us who are one, black, and then I suppose to a greater degree male. Mine was a very simple case in that in the state of California there was what used to be called the California Identification Law, which essentially permitted police to stop and shake you down for identification if you were what the law called suspicious. What the law termed as suspicious in the minds of most police officers, in the minds of many of the citizenry, was translated to simply being black. The thing that was more intriguing to me is that what was happening to me was happening to virtually everyone whom you could identify in that community who was of color, but nothing had been done about it. And we simply took that particular issue through the court system in the state of California, finally to the United States Supreme Court, and we got the Supreme Court to say that, at least as far as the law is concerned, and this is a very important point, that the word suspicion cannot be translated to being interpreted as simply being black, that one had to be doing something that was more specific or tangible or criminal. And the fascinating thing to me is that after all the headlines finish, after the court has changed the law, the practice still persists. The practice still persists. And the practice still persists because the police officer on the beat is an immediate consensus of the community that he comes from. If there is in that community an underlying bedrock of racism, of the belief that blacks are intrinsically evil, of the belief that blacks are intrinsically criminal, the Supreme Court, any court in the land, can say or do or write anything that it wants. But that police officer is going to enforce the prejudice that are pervasive and acceptable.
Let me stop you
in his community.
Did this happen just because you're walking down the street in a neighborhood where people thought you didn't belong?
I don't, you know, the thing is the chemistry is different in each situation. The common denominator is there is that mindset that black is intrinsically wrong. You take the same person with a different color in exactly the same circumstances, an entirely different result.
Yeah.
White people wander around all hours of day and night all over the place.
Yeah.
But one black person walking in the most conservative manner to get from what we call point A to point B is immediately perceived.
Yeah. When I told someone you were going to be on the show today, they said, and this was a white person, nice white person, said to me, well, I'd like to know what he was doing walking around there in the neighborhood.
Are you sure this was a nice white person?
Well, okay. He said, I'd like to know what was he doing in the neighborhood?
Well, the question here again, you know, that is, the thing that is fascinating to me, Oprah, is that, you know, we are now in the aura of the celebration of Martin Luther King. And for those of us who have, you know, moved some length of that long road with King.
Yes.
It's a time for reflection, looking back, looking forward, asking ourselves, how have we done and what do we hope to do?
Right.
The thing that is intriguing to me is that King fought the old racism, and there are an entire generation of black Americans who believe that because the old racism has been set to rest, that there is no racism. There is a whole generation of black Americans who do not understand that there is a new racism. And the new racism is what this gentleman, this gentleman, this gentleman, this gentleman have just stood up and articulated. The new racism is what you see when your quote-unquote good white friend says, what was he doing in the neighborhood? I was doing in the neighborhood exactly what she was doing in the neighborhood. That is the new racism. That's the designer racism.
Okay, good. Max, a lot of people would want to know how you can feel that you know, live